Hello to all my story lovers. Welcome back in Story Time channel. I'm Pallavi reading interesting stories for you. Today's story name is The Three Questions. Once a king had three doubts which concern his day-to-day life. He asked many people, but no one could provide him with satisfactory answers. His questions were: what is the most important thing to be done? Who should be considered the most important person? What is the most important gain? Vexed by his unanswered question, the king became very restless. Then he heard that on a certain mountain near his kingdom lived a great sage. He was very wise and would be able to give him satisfactory answers. The king decided to meet the sage. So, one afternoon, he mounted his horse and went galloping to the mountain. When he reached the foot of the mountain, he tied the horse to a tree and began climbing up. The sage ashram was at the top, and the king gasped for breath as he struggled up. On reaching the top, he found the sage working very hard. He was digging with a spade and throwing out the loose earth by carrying it in the baskets. The sage was very old, and yet he was working so hard. The king went near the sage and prostrated before him. He introduced himself, asked his three questions, and begged him for answers. The sage didn't reply but went on with his work. The king respectfully waited on one side. As he watched, he felt the sage's tiredness. Sweat poured from his limbs. His face was all wrinkled. The king thought, he is so old. I am young. Maybe I should help. He took the spade from the sage's hand and started digging himself. The sage sat down to rest. The king continued to work for 2 or 3 hours. By then it was evening and darkness had descended. Just then they heard the footsteps of someone walking with great difficulty. They turned their heads to see a man who was panting and gasping. His chest was blood-stained. The king rushed forward to hold the man and prevented him from falling. The sage told the king, "Please bring him into the ashram." The king carried him inside. He gently laid the man on the cot and removed his shirt and examined his wound. The wound was very serious. As the man had lost much blood, he was exhausted. The king cleaned the wound and put a bandage over it. He helped the man to drink some milk. That night, the king slept on the floor next to the wounded man, getting up whenever he required assistance. By the morning, the man was better and was able to sit up in the bed. The king inquired about his health and attended to all his needs. After a good meal, the patient gained some strength. He rose from his bed and fell at the feet of the king and begged his pardon. The surprised king lifted him up and asked, "Why do you beg pardon of me?" The man replied, "O good king, know that I am one of the spies employed by your enemy to kill you stealthily. I saw you climbing the mountain all by yourself. Hoping to catch you alone and murder you, I follow you. My own enemy, who saw me coming up, thrust his sword into my chest and wounded me. Helplessly I came up, and you so lovingly look after me and save me from death. Henceforth, I swear to remain faithful to you and help you in all your needs. Please accept me as your friends. The king embraced him with affection and accepted his friendship. Now it was the king's turn to take leave of the sage. While protesting to the sage, he repeated his three questions and asked, O sage, I am much bothered by these three doubts and had come to you for the answers. Please set my mind at rest. The sage smiled and said, King, you answered all your three questions by yourself yesterday. Why do you ask me? Looking at the surprised face of the king, the sage continued, Yesterday, when you come here, you found me sweating and working very hard. You took pity on me and helped me, forgetting everything else. The most important thing is to do the work which comes to you at the time. You benefited from what you did yesterday. You were delayed in returning home and so escaped the enemy's secret attack. Otherwise, you would have been a dead man now. This is the answer to your first question. When the wounded man came to us, you forgot me and your comforts and attained to his needs. This is the answer to the second question. The man in front of you is the most important man. You attended to him, forgetting the rest. This helped you yesterday because he dropped his enmity towards you and became your friend. A friend gained and an enemy conquered by love is the most important gain of all. By your loving services, your enemy become your friend. There is no greater gain in the world than this. Had you fought with your enemy and killed him, it would not have been a positive gain for you. Now you have a lifelong friend. Satisfied with the replies given by the sage, the king took leave of the sage and went back to his kingdom with him, his mind at rest. He ruled wisely and confidently, both qualities coming from the knowledge that he was doing the right thing. Now, this is the end of the story. Always do the right thing. Bye bye.